Hello and welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about battery grips, in particular for the Panasonic G85. Now, I love using the Micro Four Thirds system. They're amazing little powerful cameras that have tremendous capability both in terms of video and stills. And I love the fact that when they're teamed up with a compact prime or zoom, you can pretty well take them anywhere and be able to do pretty well anything you want with them. But there is one area that they do lack, and that is painfully obvious when you put on a lens such as this, the Panasonic 100 to 400. And then they become a little bit unbalanced and a little bit unwieldy. Now, even if I use correct technique here and put the lens into my left hand to take all the weight and just use my right hand to lightly grip the grip area and operate the controls, this still feels unbalanced. It feels front heavy and it feels a little unwieldy. And that feeling is accentuated when I go into the portrait mode, which I do use a lot. And now it feels really cack-handed and awkward to use. So the obvious solution is to get a battery grip. And I went online looking for battery grips for the G85, and I went to the website of my usual camera dealer and saw that they had the Panasonic battery grip for it, dedicated to it. And it was the outrageous price of $362. $362 for what it is basically a container for a battery with a few dials and buttons on it. Absolutely outrageous. And Panasonic aren't the only ones with this sort of pricing. Canon's far worse. The battery grip for their EOS R is $600 Australian, and Fuji, they are pretty bad as well with their XH1 grip that sells for, I think it's 500 Australian dollars. So the obvious thing to do is look for an alternative. Well, the problem being is that Panasonic aren't a great mover of huge volumes of cameras like Nikon or Canon are, and so consequently the third-party manufacturers haven't really targeted their cameras with making things like battery grips. I'm not opposed to a third-party grip. I bought one for my Canon EOS 550D about 8 years ago when I first got it, and that was made by Aputure. I got it off eBay for 40 Australian dollars. Yes, that's right, 40 Australian dollars. And I'll tell you what, no need to worry about the quality with that. That has lasted. In fact, it has lasted better than the camera. The camera I've had to repair a couple of times with super glue, but the battery grip is still going strong. So I went online again and I tapped into Google G85 battery grips and see what came up. And I got taken to Amazon Australia, and they pointed me at this, which is the Neewer DMW-BGG1 Battery Grip for the G85 for a grand total of 61 Australian dollars. So what does our 61 Australian dollars or $40 US get you? Well, looking at it, it looks like a direct clone of the Panasonic unit. Amazing. They could be made in the same factory. In fact, the only thing that really distinguishes them at first glance is the label that says Neewer. If you look at it carefully, you can see that the body, it's made of plastic, but so is the body for the G85. It has the same sort of finish as the G85, the plastic, sort of like a black crackle effect. The rubber grip segments are the same as found on the G85, and you can see, if I hold it up to the little camera, that the edges have been recessed and a little stud put in here to stop it twisting, so that it perfectly mates with the body of the G85. It feels pretty sturdy, pretty stable. There's no creaking or flexing of the battery grip body as you squeeze it. It feels very solid. As we go on a guided tour of it, at this end we have the shutter release button, 2 dials and 2 function buttons. On the back we have an on-off switch and another custom function button. That's initially, it can be used as the AE or AF lock, but you can assign that to other things. And then on the other end you have the battery compartment for 1 extra battery. There is also the insert there to enable using a dummy battery to allow you to connect to a mains power supply with the appropriate adapters and cables. So in use, what's it like? Well, it's really good. I've been using it for the last couple of months, and I must say I've been very happy with it. It functions just as well as the normal buttons and dials on the camera, and it really does allow me to get a secure hold of the camera, especially in the portrait orientation. I mean, that is really nice, really comfortable, and everything falls to hand there, as you can see. So I've been very happy with it. The buttons and dials, what do they feel like in use? Well, the shutter button's not too bad. It's pretty much on a par with that of the camera. The dials feel a little bit, dare I say it, cheap. But then again, this is a $61 unit as opposed to a $360 unit, so we've got to cut some slack here. The buttons are a bit sort of, yeah, clicky and yeah, not the best. Not as good as the buttons on the camera, but they work, and they work very well. And yeah, you know, you can map the buttons using the menu in the camera. The budgies are going mental over there in the other side of the patio, and so you can set custom functions to them. The menu also extends that you can specify which battery in the camera gets used first, whether the one in the grip or the one in the camera body itself. And yeah, it's really good unit. Are there any downsides? There are a couple. First off, if we look at the battery door here, we can see that there are no seals here. No O-ring around the edge, no gasket, no nothing. Okay, so that means this is not weather sealed. Now the Panasonic unit, their battery grip, that is advertised as being weather sealed to match the camera. And the camera does have very, very good weather sealing on it. I mean, I've used mine in some fairly torrential rain for hours on end, and it's not missed a beat. It's been really good. But the grip, this Neewer grip, isn't sealed. Now, whether that's a deal breaker for you or not, I don't know. It isn't for me. If I know I'm going to be out in adverse conditions, I just take the grip off and leave it at home and just use the camera without it. But if using a battery grip in all weathers is important to you, then I think you'll have to face the fact you'll have to spring for the Panasonic version. The other little thing is that the tripod socket that you can see here isn't mounted on the axis of the lens. So that means that if you are into shooting panoramas and the like, you will not be able to align with the nodal point of the lens for doing your panoramas and have the camera rotate around that nodal point. Now if that again is important to you, this may not be a good deal. Having said that, this is an almost direct copy of the Panasonic version, and it's almost like somebody was working on the production line in China for the Panasonic and said, I know what we'll do, I'll take the plans down to my Uncle Joe's and have him knock out a few million of these in another factory. Yes, so on the Panasonic unit you will not get that tripod screw central in the lens either. So again, you'll have to misusing a battery grip if that's important to you. Other than that, it's been a delight to use, well worth the money. I would recommend it. As I said, I've taken this bushwalking in all kinds of terrain for hours on end. It's been comfortable to use, it's been reliable, there's been no faults with it. I'm very, very happy with it and I thoroughly recommend it. Okay, I thank you for watching this and I hope it's been some use to you. Please subscribe and stay tuned for the next video, which should be up in a few weeks. In the meantime, thank you and goodbye.